Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to the Breakdown Daily Recap. I am Breaky CPK, as always, and today is January 24th, 2018. So, ESL One Genting, currently going on. We had day number 2 wrap up early this morning here, in the States at least, so obviously looking forward to talking plenty about that. There's, once again, let's just say a little bit more evolution to the drama concerning the Facebook streaming, including some DMCAs that are being sent out from ESL, shutting down some of the Twitch streamers that were actually attempting to stream some of the matches. We'll get into that a little bit later on. Before we get into all that drama, though, I really wanted to focus, just like yesterday's daily recap, initially here, I want to focus on the results. I want to talk about the event, because as you know, I understand that the drama's juicy and it's good to go over still, but I also really just enjoy watching Dota. And I know many of you tuning into this, I hope it's the same thing. I assume it is. You really, and I'm sure there's an audience out there that frankly may only care about the results and not all that other stuff that's going on. So anyways, we're going to start with the results, talk about how things went, and then we'll get into the drama side of things shortly after. Okay, so with the results, as you see on the screen in front of you, ESL One Genting, of course, from day 1, we did have 2 teams that were initially eliminated, Planet Dog and SG Esports. 2 more teams joining those 2 to finish in the 13th through 16th spot. From Group B, Penta Sports did take Evil Geniuses the distance. I caught that series, actually watched most of it, being the first one of the night. Penta Sports did actually take the first game over Evil Geniuses, and we're even looking pretty good in game number 2, possibly making it a 2-0. That would have been something. But EG came back, and then they did their thing where in game number 3 especially, where they seemed to dominate even. So game number 1, I will say Penta Sports draft, I wasn't a huge fan of their draft. I actually definitely leaned more towards Evil Geniuses. But Penta, they got very comfortable heroes. They ran who played the Leshrac? No, I didn't mean to click right there. For Penta Sports, he's a very Aramin, I want to say, played the Leshrac for them. I'm trying to click here and I can't. Anyways, it's a very comfort pick for them. It's not actually saying right here. Great. Anyway, all right. So point is, it's a very comfortable pick for them. They ran that in actually both the first 2 games, and the second game not as great of a result for them. But point is, they were very comfortable with the lineup. They took the first game, but again, Evil Geniuses came back to look strong in the next 2. So, as I said going into the event, Penta Sports, as far as these underdog teams, they were the one that I could most certainly see doing some damage, possibly even defeating Liquid in a best-of-1 series that they had up here. But Liquid definitely got the better of them, and they are ultimately knocked out. On the other one, we had LFY being knocked out by Mineski 2-0. Of course, LFY, the big talk with them, they made that roster swap going into this event. OP, formerly of Invictus Gaming, he was actually put on the team going into this event, and Super was then put on IG. Again, it's temporary from our understanding. Now, this is a very disappointing result, to say the least, so I don't know if it was going to be based off of this event, depending on if they swap back or not, but it's, it's a last place finish here. They didn't even take a single game. This does go back to a little bit where the format, as much of a fan I am of it, it does suck a little bit that because you have 16 teams, you had to start eliminating teams so early in the event. So 4 teams, especially the teams that got eliminated on day 1, they were already done. Even right here, done and moving on into the tournament. So I guess they're going to enjoy a vacation. So we'll see how, that works out for them. But 4 teams eliminated, $2,000 going to them, so at least a little bit of money as well. Moving forward, though, talking more results. So again, from Group A, the winners, it stayed the same. Secret versus Virtus Pro, still a matchup they did not play yesterday. Instead, it was more losers bracket action. Complexity versus VGJ Thunder. I did make a point to stay up and watch most of this series. I started falling asleep by the second game, but it was at a point where Complexity was falling behind, and I found out after waking up suddenly a little bit later on that indeed that was the result. Complexity, this just wasn't their event. They did defeat Planet Dog, of course, to even get to this point, but they felt off. They felt a little off. It did not feel like your typical Complexity that we've seen at some of these lands. And yes, I was a little bit biased with my predictions. I had the hype, hoping that they would go far in this event and possibly even finishing top 3 in the group to advance on to the playoffs. But it wasn't to be. On the other side of it, VGJ Thunder, this continues to be a team that's hot right now in the China scene, similar to Vici Gaming, who, speaking of them, they of course defeated Fnatic 2-1. going the distance right there in that series. You do see, look at that second game, 91-minute match. Wow, a 91-minute match in game number 2. That's the one that Fnatic ended up winning behind, excuse me, it looks like Abed playing the Tinker, Universe playing Tiny in the offlane. He's actually done that quite a bit. And, of course, running Terrible. Wow, yeah, they really had a strong late game lineup there. Vici Gaming ran with a Zeus, an LC, a Dragonite. I'm actually surprised looking at the lineups that game did last so long, honestly. But, again, I obviously didn't catch that matchup when it came to this best-of-3. But 91-minute match. Fnatic did pull out game 2. But in the end, Vici Gaming victorious. And they're going to get matched up against their Chinese brethren. Of course, these two teams did face off in the first round of the event. VGJ Thunder did get the better of them in that best-of-1. It was a pretty tight-knit game, back and forth. Ultimately, Thunder moving on, though. So, you know, we really can't take too much from that necessarily. But again, these two teams do have a little bit of history. And these two teams right now, outside of a newbie, perhaps, I think are the really hot teams in the Chinese scene once again. So this should be a really good best-of-3. The winner will advance on to the playoffs in at least the third-place spot. Of course, or actually, it looks like, so the winner just advances on straight on to the third-place spot, as Secret and Virtus.pro are playing for first and second right there. Again, first place gets an automatic trip to the semifinals. But so the Vici teams going at it to determine which of those will move on to the playoffs. In the other side, okay, so that was all that. Oh no, the winners, of course, from Group B now did get played as well. Of course, we had the Liquid versus Na'Vi matchup, quite the iconic matchup right there. Liquid did get the better of Na'Vi 2-0. I gotta say, I expected this to be a little bit closer, but you know, especially looking at the time of defeats and everything, it seemed like this was overall fairly one-sided in favor of Liquid. 30-minute under matches for both of the games for them, and thus advancing on to the winter finals. I did expect that result, but again, I would not have been surprised if this was a 3-game series, but in the end, Na'Vi could not handle Liquid, and thus Liquid advancing on. Newbie on the other side did take out TNC 2-0 in their series. Again, you can look at the length of games right there and the drafts and everything, but Newbie, again, not the surprising result, defeating TNC. So we get our Liquid versus Newbie matchup. I will say I called both of the winter final matchups in my predictions, just saying. Not that that's crazy impressive. I mean, I do think you look at these 4 teams that are here. These are probably the top 4 teams right now in the Dota 2 Pro circuit even, so not too surprising. But losers side, we have some fun matches that will be happening tonight. Now, Evil Geniuses versus TNC best-of-3, and then Na'Vi versus Mineski. I do have TNC over Evil Geniuses. I'm still not sold on this new roster of EG. Yes, they were able to get to the finals, a pretty good run of the Galaxy Battles tournament, but for what that event was and everything, I really didn't take too much from that. And this is a much, much, much more legitimate competition, and TNC, I'm sure, you know, going to be coming in this to play. They did get the early victory over Mineski, impressive from them. So I expect TNC to move on here, 2-1 victory for them. Na'Vi, I do have over Mineski. I'm still hoping that Na'Vi, and you know, almost really expecting Na'Vi to still shine here. Mineski, of course, a solid team, but at the same time, Mineski's been on a very, you know, recline, frankly, it seems like, in the Southeast Asian region when it comes to these big LAN results, and doing very well. So they had a hot start to the season. Since then, it's slowing down, other than the first like 2 or 3 events of the season right here. So I expect Na'Vi to move on, making it TNC versus Na'Vi in the losers finals, so then see who moves on to the playoffs. So things are advancing on. Of course, we will have our winter finals tonight, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, both of them are going to be played tonight. As far as my predictions for those, I believe I chose Virtus.pro out of Group A, and I believe I chose Team Liquid out of Group B, if I'm not mistaken. So we're going to go with that, okay? Liquid out of Group B. We have Virtus.pro out of Group A as far as your number 1 seeds. Again, that's fairly important because that gets you then a guaranteed top 4, and which means you do have your guaranteed at least 40 circuit points, as well as, you know, the $40,000 prize pool. Of course, this being a $400,000 prize pool, a 400 circuit point tournament, despite it even being a minor. So a little bit stronger minor than the other minors. Okay, that's the results for day number 2. So a lot to look forward to tonight. I assume the losers bracket are also going to be happening tonight. Yeah, so both the loser bracket matches happening at the same time as well. And then we'll hop into the winners. And actually, this loser final is also happening. So after day number 3, going into the recap tomorrow, we will have all the results for the playoffs and what to look forward to, and you can start previewing that then. So that's going to be fun. More coverage, of course, from ESL One Genting for tonight. All right, let me get a drink, guys, before we move on now to the fun stuff here. Okay. So, now this takes us into the great. Now, you know what? There was one other thing I wanted to go over. Okay, so before we get into the drama, there was a couple of stats I wanted to look over here. And, you know, that I found kind of interesting, and I think it's just fun to go over from ESL One Genting. You do look at the heroes played and everything, and which heroes have been doing well. It felt like, to me, Terrorblade was going to be, you know, a very successful hero, but only 3 and 4 in this event. So I was a little bit surprised to see that on the overall hero list. The most played hero overall is Tiny right now at 13 matches so far. You know, he has a 69% win percentage, so pretty good considering he is the most picked hero. You know, Sand King right under him. Rubik way up there. Very high win percentage as well. He's 9 and 2 in games. So some of the stronger heroes right now that you see. As far as overall win percentage, Viper 5 and 0 when he's picked up here in the ESL One Genting event. So Viper a pick, you know, somewhat of a niche pick, but at the same time, so far, if you get your hands on Viper, doing it very well. OD's up there too, 4 and 0 himself, and then it starts to drop down a little bit from there. On the other side of it, Brewmaster 0 and 4 when it comes to the games right now, and that's shocking to me. Brewmaster is just such a strong offlane hero. The Primal Split's a fantastic tool, and the crowd control that he brings, you know, taking somebody out of fight with a tornado, the catch potential, really strong. So, and a great landing presence on top of that. So, you know, I don't think this is necessarily a reflection of the hero. It's only 4 games after all, but still, Brewmaster being 0 and 4 so far in the event, not the greatest. And you look at Witch Doctor as well, 1 and 10 in matches too. That's actually pretty crazy. That's pretty significant to me. Witch Doctor being 1 and 10 in matches. That's a fair amount of games to kind of determine. Maybe Witch Doctor is a little bit overrated right now as far as being picked up, because a 1 and 10 record is really not too good. So, looking at player stats, I found a couple interesting. Ace, he's had a fantastic event so far. Again, he didn't play here on day 2, of course, but playing in the 3 games so far, 21 kill to death assist ratio. Pretty insane stuff right there. He's had a very successful event so far. Miracle's been the top farmer in the event, followed by Mushi and Ramses. But yeah, Miracle just over 700 goal per minute. You look at the top assist man, Lil from Virtus Pro, solo also up there. So Virtus Pro has had some successful games, and of course this is a great team effort. And you look at Lan M also up there, despite playing 7 matches compared to all these others playing 3 matches. I think that's very impressive. You know, playing that many more than double the amount of matches of others, yet still being up there with assists per game. So Lan M, a very involved player for VG Gaming, definitely a standout stat that I see right there. You look at the deaths. All right, well that's just wrong. We shouldn't look at that. How about the least deaths? No surprise, Ace is up there, only 1 death per game. That's insane. All right, so those are some player stats. Okay, that's gonna lead us now into the drama. So once again, let me get some water, and then we'll be good. Okay, guys, so when it comes to the drama here, yesterday we talked a bit about it, the whole Facebook streaming, our experience with it. You know, I gave my take concerning it, and, you know, the plea to ESL as an organization, making a point that, as I put it yesterday, I wasn't a huge fan of some of the comments I was seeing from a mix of the talent that was there as well as ESL themselves, calling a lot of people whiny and how they shouldn't be complaining, you know, that they should be enjoying this and understand where things are coming. It's, you know, you can watch yesterday's if you really want to get my take on it, but it ultimately came to the idea that we just want to watch some Dota, so you guys have to do a better job of the first impression. They completely fucked up the first impression, which has now kind of caused this snowball train effect, unfortunately, that we are seeing. Now, with that said, when it came to tonight, something else I did also talk about was I looked forward to still more of the event, and I expected improvements to be made. And now with knowing where to go to watch a stream on top of the quality of the stream and the lag issue seemed to be figured out, at least on my end and everything. I tuned into the stream pretty much right at 10:30 p.m. as I said it was going to launch. The stream did go up. It had a static coming up soon image, but at least it was up. And then eventually the stream started. And, there was Red Eye with, I think it was Nahaz and Fogged, and doing their thing on panel. And the quality was great. Audio was great. I was able to watch it, and my experience last night was a lot better. And again, I'm speaking just complete personal experience. I can't say for others. I did see some tweets from others still saying that they were having some lag issues or whatever. Being again a different service, sometimes you have to make some tweaks, whether it's using a new browser. In my case, I will say last night I did not watch it on my main computer, which I'm doing this recording from. I actually watched it on my laptop upstairs. So I don't know if that had something to do with it as well. But point is, I was able to watch it on my laptop, and I actually pulled it up on my phone out of curiosity because I heard some people having issues on their phone too. And for me, it worked on my phone. So again, my personal viewing experience was great. It was good. Outside of, I'm still not a huge fan that I don't have Twitch chat. I'm entertained by Twitch chat during the matches, and I found myself constantly going to like Twitter and checking out Reddit to see what people were saying, because that's the great thing about Twitch chat. You kind of get the immediate feedback and responses, and albeit a lot of it's just trolling and fun, but there are some good discussions that can also happen from it every now and then. So the point is, that's something I definitely still miss. But again, outside of that, really, the experience was good. However, as the night started to go on, obviously some more people on Twitch were attempting to stream matches when it came to the ESL One Genting event, and knowing that. Again, nothing really happened the previous day before. There was the warning that was given out, the quote-unquote threat, as we talked about, that Admiral Bulldog did apparently get from ESL, and so of a DMCA, but nothing actually happened. So other streamers popped up last night. PPD made a point that he wasn't going to stream. That was just his own decision. There were a couple that came to mind, MDL being one of them. He's a pretty solid pro player of sorts on the competitive scene. He's also a bit of a caster. I know he's done some casting here and there. Anyways, he stepped up, started to cast some of the games early on at the event for ESL on Twitch, and it had to be maybe like an hour or so after he was doing it, all of a sudden his stream got shut down. And he officially made a tweet about it. He made a point that he just got a DMCA notice and that his stream was taken down. So let's just say this started to fuel this fire of Reddit and pitchforks and the community getting a bit upset. And the posts started flowing in onto Reddit. What the hell is going on? What is ESL doing? Like, this is ridiculous. There were some other Twitch streamers that were still streaming it, and including somebody by the name of Raw Dota. He's actually a former Han player, but he got a lot of exposure, 6,000 plus viewers for a good amount last night. And there's also BSJ was even streaming some matches. And then later on into the night, BSJ actually ended up getting his stream taken down with the DMCA notice, and his channel was taken out on Twitch. So again, it was one thing to do with somebody like an MDL who is a little less known, but then BSJ, we're talking about a very popular streamer, player on the competitive scene and everything. His stream getting taken down, and that just really made things go over the top with the reaction of the community. Now, what's been happening? So how this was dealt with from the community side, basically the community's argument is that there's this blog post that was made a couple of months ago by Valve. This obviously happened after the Grand situation and Streaming Dota Pit, I believe it was, at the time. They sent out this blog post. So this blog post came out, and the way the community interpreted it right away was, we're good to go. We can cast whatever we want as long as we don't have sponsorships on our stream. And, so if I was to cast a match with just a webcam like this and, just jump into a tournament game, then I should be fine, right? Because according to what they say here, that's how I'm interpreting it. So let's take a look of what kind of reading it through right here. Some of the bigger bullet points of what they're going on. So Broadly speaking, we see two groups of fans. Some fans follow competitive play. They have favorite teams, players, cast for tournaments, and want to consume content directly from the tournament organizers who are producing events. Other fans have strong affinities to specific personalities, and they watch them play games, talk about games, and cast a variety of professional, amateur, and pub games. We want to make sure that there is content available that serves both groups of customers. So this is the important paragraph right here. To that end, in addition to the official, fully produced streams from the tournament organizer itself, we believe that anyone should be able to broadcast a match from Dota TV for their audience. If they ended the paragraph right there, and none of this existed, we're good. We're golden. What the fuck is ESL doing? They have no right, right? They say right there. The Valve makes a point that we're good. That's not the case, though. However, we don't think they should do so in a commercial manner or in a way that directly competes with the tournament's organizer's stream. Okay. Well, what does that mean? What is competing with the streaming? What's the interpretation of that? This means no advertising, branding overlays, and no sponsorships. It also means not using any of the official broadcast content, such as the caster audio, camera work overlays, interstitial content, whatever, and so on. Finally, this is not permission for studios to broadcast each other's events. And then it finishes off with, in general, everyone should play nice together, and we think the boundaries should be pretty clear. This is the issue. The boundaries aren't very clear. And this event is showing that right here, right now. Because essentially what ESL is suggesting, in fact, we do have a post that was made, BSL from ESL. He's been somebody that communicates from ESL constantly whenever an ESL events happen on Reddit and on social media in general. He ended up making a statement yesterday after BSJ and MDL streams were taken down via DMCA. And he goes on to say, here's what I could say on that for today as the following days. Anyone can stream Dota, as Valve stated after TI7, as long as they are community streamers free of commercial interest. So, which, again, that's what the blog post says. However, ESL's interpretation of what was said there is keeping with these guidelines in the agreements we have to broadcast ESL One. We are not going to allow any streams that are competing with our main language streams, and we can't let streams that monetize content from this tournament stay up. So essentially what he's saying is, because we have this deal with Facebook, which is very important for our event and our organization and running the stream in the first place, and a way to help us monetize the event, by casting our event that we're putting on a completely different network, thus taking opportunity and monetization away from us, you're competing with us. Whether or not you personally are taking donations or running advertisements or going sellout, in ESL's mind, doesn't matter. You're already interfering with their competition, and so that's why they are going through with these DMCAs. Again, with what Valve says, they're not wrong in the sense of how they're interpreting it. And obviously, I should have probably stated this from the very beginning. I'm not a legal expert whatsoever. I'm in no position to state what the actual legal expertise side of this is. And, you know, I'm sure I saw some tweets from some possible legal experts out there that are going to be giving their takes on the situation and a better insight on what's maybe going on here, of course. So, but again, what this ultimately goes back to is that the blog post that was made from Valve was taken for granted, in my opinion, by the community in a lot of ways. And I remember when this came out, I remember reading it, and I remember talking about this on our podcast show at the time that I'd had with Z-Rock, that we both came to the conclusion that, like, there's not really any clear answer here. But I think people are kind of just going with the idea that let's just all work together, and yes, you're allowed to do it, but don't step on toes. We just have never really come to addressing this until now, because this is obviously a dramatic move with using Facebook instead of Twitch. So it all kind of goes back to that. And and one last point I want to make on this is that I saw people. There's a lot of people suggesting that Valve is going to make a response. Valve needs to respond. You know, where's Valve? Where's Gabe? Come on, make a response. Pretty much let ESL know what's up, that we're allowed to do this, right? Because that's what the blog post says. In my opinion, Valve's not going to respond. Valve's not going to say anything. Valve is... I do not see Valve making any statement on the situation until after the event is over at the very least. They're possibly talking behind the scenes with ESL, and I would not be surprised at all if that's the case. But because here's essentially the two options that Valve could go with the statement. And so one option would be they tell the community, they basically respond saying, we're going to allow the community to cast matches. You are not allowed to DMCA them. Feel free to cast the matches on Dota TV. That would be a huge slap in the face to a business partner in ESL that has successfully and done very well ran many Dota tournaments throughout history here, throughout these last several years, if not more than that. And to make a statement like that would be a complete slap in the face for them, and it would be an overreaction, frankly. So they're not going to do that. From a business perspective, they're not going to do that. Their other option would be to side with ESL. And if anything, that's the one way, frankly, that I personally see Valve responding, just to simply put an end to this right now, at least until the event's over. If they come out and say, it's something along the lines of, although we may not agree 100% with what the actions of ESL, we are going to ask the community not to stream the matches. Let ESL, stream the matches on their Facebook stream, and then after we will readdress this. That I could possibly see, and again, the community would probably be outraged by that, and they would then probably be pissed off at Valve. So why should Valve even respond at that point is what I go back to, and that's why they're probably not going to respond until, again, at the very least, this event is over. But so that's my overall take on the situation. I guess I don't know if I really said what I lean towards on a personal matter. I don't know, again, because I really do get both sides. I get where ESL's coming from with the whole business side of it and the monetization, but the way they're handling it is absurd. In a lot of ways. It's so radioactive, it's so over the top with the whole DMCA shutdowns, just like out of nowhere it feels like, and the way they're interpreting the whole blog post, they're only picking and choosing very specific points of it, and it goes back to the first impression. They had a chance to make this all not go away necessarily, but make it a lot lesser of an extreme if they just simply had things working from the very beginning, and if they were a lot more prepared going into this event with the whole Facebook stream. If they made some kind of video that really, or some kind of tutorial on Reddit, just something like, this is how you watch this tournament on Facebook, these are all the features you're going to get, this is how you can turn these things off, yada, yada, yada. I know it's a lot easier to say that in hindsight now, but when you're a multi-million-dollar company doing a deal such as big as this with one of the biggest companies in the world in Facebook, it's something you probably should have thought about before putting on an event on such a huge platform that is inexperienced when it comes to broadcasting events of this caliber. So there you go. That's my take on the situation. We're obviously going to see how this evolves as the days continue to go. It all goes back to, for me, that it's just so unfortunate that we're having to deal with this bullshit, because there is a good tournament going on, and that's why I'm stressing to at least go over the results initially in my daily recaps and talk about the tournament itself before we get into this whole juicy drama. Again, I know it's fun to talk about and everything, but I do want to get the event, the teams there, and the competition that's going on, the respect that it definitely does deserve in the end. So thanks once again for tuning in to the Daily Recap. Again, you can follow me on Twitter, Facebook, all over the place. And I do these daily recaps every day. I've been doing so since the beginning of the year. Feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel as well, of course, to see every new episode. Once again, January 24th, 2018. Have a good night, guys. We'll see you next Daily Recap.